Good morning, dear students. Children, today we are going to do ninth chapter of our English reader book First Flight entitled Madam Rides the Bus. So children, read the name carefully. The writer's name is Wali Kannan. So children, this is the story of an 8-year-old girl. An 8-year-old girl who is very curious about what, how, why, when of the things. Children are known for their curiosity. Like you must have heard it from others as well, that children often ask a lot many questions. So if you have any kid at your home, so if you have any sibling or any kind of niece, nephew at your home, so you must have noticed that they ask a variety of questions and a plenty of questions, I would say. So their tendency is to know like what happens, how it happens, why that happens. So Valli is the name of the girl who is the center of attraction. See, her picture is shown. She is standing right at the door of her house. See, there was a girl named Valaimai. So children, Valaimai is her full name, who was called Valli for short, right? So she was 8 years and very curious about things. As I told you, she was full of curiosity. Her favorite pastime was standing in the front doorway of her house. You must find it very awkward. Like 8 years old children often play with their age mates. They play different kinds of games. Nowadays the trend is of indoor games, but the story is of much past time. So then only the children had the option of playing outdoors. But see, why she didn't play outdoor games? Because like her favorite pastime was standing in the front doorway of her house, watching what was happening in the street outside. There were no playmates of her own age on street, and this was about all she had to do. It means she neither had any playmates nor any other source to with which she could play. So that's why the only option left with Valli was to notice the things happening around. When a child is free, when a child is empty, he or she has that time or that space, and they don't find an alternative work to do, so obviously they would start noticing things. Their observation would become keen. So Valli, same happened with this girl. She began to notice the things, especially by standing at the doorway of her house. See, here also in the picture she is standing and she is looking at a bus, right? Next paragraph. But for Valli, standing at the front door was every bit as enjoyable as any of the elaborative games that other children played. Watching the street gave her many new unusual experiences. Unusual, different experiences. It means it was her favorite pastime to stand at the door of her house. Very awkward, but the people who often stand at the doorway, they don't have any other work to do for those few hours. So those people can actually say that how enjoyable it is, looking here and there, noticing the people, that who is passing from this street, how good clothes they are wearing, what is their daily routine. They often pass from that street at 8 a.m. and return to their home at 6 p.m. So noticing people became her favorite hobby, and she enjoyed it to the most, right? So watching the people walking on the street and having they must be having unusual experiences. Like she used to notice such things that were unusual. It means that were uncommon, that do not happen everywhere, or that do not happen every moment. So unusual experiences were there. So see, how fascinating her nature was. Like what was her idea of looking at the thing so carefully. So see, the most fascinating thing of all was the bus that travelled between her village and the nearest town. It passed through her street each hour, once going to the town and once coming back. The sight of the bus, filled each time with a new set of passengers, was a source of unending joy for Valli. It means, otherwise she used to look at each and everything, means the people passing from there, the hawkers, right? So the people who sell one thing or the other, everybody. But what was the most fascinating, means what was the most attractive thing she used to see, that was the bus which used to travel from her village to the town and from town to village. That was a daily routine. So it passed through her street each hour, means after every 1 hour the distance must be of 30 minutes, means 30 minutes would be enough for reaching from village to town and 30 minutes for town to village. So she was filled with joy after looking at the bus, the people sitting in the bus, and some of the people who go to the town daily for the purpose of their job or work. So this was her daily routine, right? Next paragraph. Day after day, she watched the bus, and gradually a tiny wish crept into her head. Entered, right? And grew there. She wanted to ride on that bus, even if it just once. This wish became stronger and stronger until it was an overwhelming desire. So Valli would stare wistfully means with a longing, with a strong wish. Stare, look at, wistfully at the people who got on and off the bus when it stopped at the street corner. Their faces would kindle in her longings. Kindle, having a kind of light, dreams and hopes. If one of her friends happened to ride the bus and try to describe the sights of a town to her, Valli would be too jealous to listen and would shout in English, "Proud, proud." So neither she nor her friends really understood the meaning of the word proud, but they used it often as a slang expression of disapproval. What is described in this paragraph, that every new day she used to watch that bus, like it was no less than an entertainment for Valli to look at the bus, people sitting inside the bus, and see, what idea suddenly came into her mind one day. The idea of traveling to the city came into her mind one day. So like she became very curious and she wished that she should visit city because she wanted to take a ride on the bus. She had never been in that bus, and it became a very strong desire on her part. Moreover, if any of her acquaintances, any of her friends would share that he or she happened to go to market or to the city and describe the experiences of the town, so Valli would feel too much jealous. She would feel very bad that yes, this person was able to go to the city and visit all those places, see all the scenes that come in between. So she became so jealous and she began to shout, "Proud, proud." She, along with her friends, like the people were so innocent that they didn't know the meaning of the word proud. They just spoke it in order to express their disapproval for something, their discontent for something. So this paragraph describes that Valli actually developed a strong desire to visit a city once and take a ride on that bus. Okay, next paragraph. Over many days and months, Valli listened carefully to conversations between her neighbors and people who regularly used the bus. And she also asked a few discreet questions. Here and there. This way she picked up various small details about the bus journey. The town was 6 miles from her village. The fare was 30 paisa one way, which is almost nothing at all. She heard one well-dressed man say, but to Valli, who scarcely saw that much money from one month to the next, it seemed a fortune. 30 paisa was the fare of the bus, and she used to listen the conversations of her neighbor who used to ride on that bus for one purpose of the other. So she began to collect the details, like how much time it takes going from village to city and from city to village, like in returning how much time it takes and what is the bus fare. So bus fare was 30 paisa only, but to Valli, like it was a big amount. Like she couldn't say that she would be able to jot down that amount in a small period, so she needed a few days for that. So that's why she continuously began to think of that, and like along with that she began to collect money. So what is said here, that an elderly man, like she was she received that information that 30 paisa is the fare, and she was not happy to listen the fact that she has to arrange at least 60 paisa in order to take a ride, because she doesn't only want to go, obviously she has to come back as well. So that's why, like, she had not seen like that much money in her life, because the dealing of money and the items is with the parents only, it was limited with her parents. So that's why she began to think that at what time she can go. In the next paragraphs it would be described like how she plans it. Next line: the trip to the town took only 45 minutes. On reaching town, if she stayed in her seat and paid another 30 paisa, she could return home on the same bus. This meant that she could take the 1 o'clock afternoon bus, reach the town at 1:45, and be back home by about 2:45. Got it? So this is about like 45 minutes it takes one way, and second way again 45 minutes. So she plans here that she would leave home at 1 o'clock. So she would tell in the further paragraphs like why she selects this time frame of afternoon, right? So she decides that she would go, and she would go at this time. So next paragraph: on and on went her thoughts as she calculated and recalculated, planned and replanned. It means several days passed and she calculated, means she counted the money she was jotting down slowly, and she planned and replanned. I would do this, I would do that. For a child like Valli, a village girl, it was very unusual to ride a bus. Like she had never done that experience. That's why she was full of curiosity for that, right? So, second part of the story. Well, one fine spring day, the afternoon bus was just on the point of leaving the village and turning into the main highway when a small voice was heard shouting, "Stop the bus, stop the bus!" and a tiny hand was raised commandingly. The bus slowed down to a crawl, and the conductor, sticking his head out of the door, said, "Hurry then! Tell whoever it is to come quickly." "It's me," shouted Valli. "I am the one who has to get on." By now the bus had come to a stop, and the conductor said, "Oh really? You don't say so?" "Yes, simply I have to go to town," said Valli, still standing outside the bus. "And here's my money." She showed him some coins. Okay, but first you must get on the bus," said the conductor, and he stretched out a hand to help her up. "Never mind," she said. "I can get on by myself. You don't have to help me." So Valli shouted that she doesn't need any help. So see, children, in these short 4 paragraphs, what is narrated, the writer tells us that it was a fine spring day, right? The time was afternoon and the bus was about to leave. In fact, it has started, right? So that's why, after seeing that the bus has already started, a voice was raised commandingly. Commandingly means as somebody is giving orders. So commandingly, "Stop the bus, stop the bus." And who had given that command? Valli, right? So the bus slowed down, and the conductor asked, "And hurry up, that it's almost time to depart from this place." Like his attitude was like, "Why are you late?" So that's why, quickly, do it quickly means get into the bus quickly. So Valli shouted, "It's me, and I want to get on the bus." And the conductor, in a jolly manner, in a playful manner, says, "Really?" Like as we talk to small children, that really, would you do that? So she said, "Yes, I want to go there, and I too have money for that." As children innocently say that, like, "I have money for that also. I will buy this. I have money for that also." So in the same manner, the mentality of just 8 years old girl, just half your age. So she is like, she is having the money to pay for the bus fare when the conductor wanted to help her, so that 8 years is not a I would say is not a big age, but you need to help the child who is 8 years old. So the conductor wanted to give her a hand in order to like take her into the bus, but she denied. She said that I can get on by myself, it means I don't need anybody's help. So she ended the argument here. So see what conductor says afterwards. The conductor was a jolly sort, fond of joking. I told you jolly sort means jolly type of person, right? So he was fun loving person. Oh, please don't be angry with me, my fine madam, he said. Here, have a seat right up there in front. Everybody move aside, please. Make way for madam. So see, conductor, teasing that girl in a playful manner, of course in a positive manner, that he asked other passenger that a madam is coming, because why he addressed Valli as madam? Because Valli told him that I am not that I am not that much childish that I can't get a seat for myself, or I can't get on in the bus by myself. So that's why he addressed Valli as madam and asked the passengers to give way because madam is coming, right? So it was the slack time of the day. Slack means here it is also given a time when there is not much work, because people often go to their work in the morning and return their home in the evening, right? So afternoon time is the time when people travel less. So that's why it was the slack time of the day, less travel, and there were only 6 to 7 passengers on the bus. So they were all looking at Valli and laughing with the conductor. You know why they were laughing? They were laughing that this is such a small kid, and like how smartly she is going alone without anybody's help, and her parents are also not able to notice her, like she is missing from home, nobody is noticing. So next line. Valli was overcame with shyness. Avoiding everybody's eyes, she walked quickly to an empty seat and sat down. It means she became overcome with shyness. She felt shy because everybody was looking at her, and children would often feel shy if everybody starts looking at them. So that's why she quickly grabbed a seat and sat down. So see here, she is sitting down, the smaller one, and everybody else is laughing, and the conductor holding a bag and a cap on his hat is standing. May we start now, madam? The conductor asked smilingly. Here also he is teasing Valli in a playful manner that can they start the bus now? So then he blew his whistle twice and the bus moved forward with a roar. It means the conductor was just teasing her. It was not actually conductor's will was not actually to take permission from Valli. He was just making fun. So he asked it smilingly, and he blew his whistle 2 times so that the driver should get a signal that it's time to move from the place, and he started the bus. Okay, next. It was a new bus. Its outside painted a gleaming white with some green stripes along the sides. Simple description of the bus having white color, shining white color, and green strips. So inside, the overhead bars shone like silver. Directly in front of Valli, above the windshield, there was a beautiful cloak. The seats were soft and luxurious. The comfort of the bus is described that the overhead bars were shining like silver, and directly in the front portion in which Valli was sitting, above the windshield, right above. So there was a beautiful clock, the decoration and the facilities, and the seats were very soft and luxury kind of, as we find that in luxury vehicles. Valli devoured everything with her eyes. Devoured, to look very cautiously, very carefully, because she was hungry of these things. She had never experienced these things. It was her utmost desire. So that's why she was devouring. But when she started to look outside, she found her view cut off by a canvas blind that covered the lower part of her window. So she stood up on the seat and peered over the blind. So here, Valli the writer says that when she started to look outside, she found her view cut off by a canvas blind that covered the lower part of the window. You know, often it happens that if some paint is done, if half window is painted, some view we are not able to see the full view. Some view is obviously cut off. So the same happened with Valli. So this that's why, due to this reason, she stood up on the seat, because you know she was so small. As you can see her sitting inside the bus, she was not able to see that clearly. She was not able to view the full scene. That's why she stood up from the seat and peered over the blind, means the blind, that the area, right? The bus was now going along the bank of a canal, bank of a canal, and the road was very narrow. On the side there was the canal, and beyond it palm trees, grassland, distant mountains, blue sky. On the other side there was a deep ditch, and then acres and acres of green fields, green, as far as I could see. Oh, it was all so wonderful. So Valli became very happy. She has never seen any like those grasslands, distant mountains, that much wider view of blue sky, and acres of land, large area of land. Like, she was overwhelmed to see that. She found it wonderful, marvelous. Like, she was more than happy. When somebody feels overwhelmed, it means when happiness cannot be contained inside the mind. So the same happened with her. She was so delighted. She enjoyed it to the most. See what happens next. Suddenly she was startled by a voice. Startled. She felt shocked by a voice. "Listen, child," said the voice. "You shouldn't stand like that. Sit down." The voice was like, it was a kind of instruction. It was a kind of order for Valli. So, "Listen, child," somebody is asking her that listen, like she should not stand like this. She should sit down on the seat. But see, sitting down, she looked to see who had spoken. She was so proud that she felt bad that how can somebody give orders to me. So it was an elderly man who had honestly been concerned for her, but she was annoyed by his attention. "There's nobody here who's a child," she said haughtily. Haughtily means in a proud manner, in angry mood. "I have paid my 30 paisa like everyone else," the conductor claimed in. "Oh sir, but this is a very grown-up madam. Do you think a mere girl could pay her own fare and travel to the city all alone?" So Valli shot an angry glance at the conductor, angry look at the conductor, and said, "I am not a madam. Please remember that. And you have not yet given me my ticket." "So, I'll remember," the conductor said, mimicking her tone. Mimicking means copying her tone. Everybody laughed, and gradually Valli too. Gradually means slowly. She also began to laugh and joined in the laughter. So children, what happens in these four short paragraphs, that instead of sitting down, she becomes angry when she notices that it was an elderly man. Often we feel that elderly people give advices to children in the buses, that beta, don't put your hand outside, don't keep your elbow outside the bus, so you may get hurt, don't stand here, don't stand there, don't do this only. So such kind of instruction. Actually, the elderly man was honestly concerned for Valli. Like, he was afraid that Valli may not get some injury, because the bus can get a break anytime. Bus can take a sudden break at any point of time, but Valli was angry that why he is paying attention to her. So there was nobody who's a child. There's nobody who's a child means Valli objected to that elderly man and said that I am not a child. Why are you considering me a kid? Like, since I have paid full fare, I have paid the fare which is charged from an elderly person, that is 30 paisa, like everyone. So I have paid full fare. How can you consider me a child? So the conductor, like he becomes in a chill mood. He was also, I told you, fun-loving person, and he objects to the elderly man in a humble manner, in a humble voice, and said that, "Sir, this is a grown-up madam. Like, she is not a child, she is a madam." And Valli became angry at the conductor also, and she tells him that she is not a madam. And remember that he has not given her a ticket. He has taken the fare 30 paisa from her, and her ticket is not issued. The conductor said that he will issue her the ticket, and everybody began to laugh at Valli because she was creating funny scenes. Like, that was so illogical to, give angry look at an elderly man, or giving a stare at the conductor. Her behavior was a bit different, childish. Nobody was getting angry at her behavior, but everybody was laughing. So slowly Valli also understood that they are all laughing at her, so she joined them in the laughter. Right? I hope that's clear till now. Next paragraph. The conductor punched a ticket and handed it to her. Just sit back and make yourself comfortable. Why should you stand when you have paid for a seat? Because I want to, she answered, standing up again. A very good answer, and that is expected from a child only. I don't expect this answer from an elderly person. Conductor, after punching, they punched the ticket. So after punching the ticket, he handed it over to her and said that just sit back and make yourself comfortable. Conductor was also afraid that if the driver takes a sudden break, she would fall from the seat on which she is standing. So that's why he asked her in a tricky manner that if you have paid the ticket, if you have paid for the bus fare, why are you standing? Take your seat. She answered that I am not standing because I have paid for I must not have paid for the bus fare, but I am standing because I want to stand. Why she wants to stand? She wants to stand in order to observe the outside scene, right? So see what happens next. But if you stand on the seat, you may fall and hurt yourself when the bus makes a sharp turn or hits a bump. That's why we want you to sit down, child. I am not a child, I tell you, she said irritably. I am 8 years old. Of course, how stupid of me, 8 years, my God, it means, The conductor again apologizes when he addresses, she is not happy if she is called a child, and she is not happy if she is called madam. What else we can use to address a girl? Obviously, either she will be called a madam or she will be called a child. So she is not accepting any of the titles. She gets irritated that she is 8 years old. It means she considers herself a mature girl. So the conductor further asks her to sit down because the bus may take a sharp turn, as I told you, children. So that's why. But she is not ready. Next paragraph. The bus stopped, some new passengers got on, and the conductor got busy for a time. Afraid of losing her seat, Valli finally sat down. An elderly woman came and sat beside her. Are you all alone, dear? She asked Valli as the bus started again. So now Valli's reaction would be repulsive. Valli found the woman absolutely repulsive, repulsive when we have a disliking for someone, hatred for someone. Such big holes she had in her earlobes and such ugly earrings in them. And she could smell the betel nut the woman was chewing. Some of the people are in the habit of chewing betel nuts, and the fragrance comes right way from their mouth. So, and that was threatening to spill over her lips at any moment. Oh, who could be sociable with such a person? Yes, I am traveling alone, she answered curtly. Curtly, like showing attitude, displeasure, disapproval, curtly. And I have got a ticket too. So, yes, she is on her way to town, said the conductor with a 30 paisa ticket. Okay, so what happens here? Finally, when the bus stops at many places, we know whenever we go from one place to the other, the bus has several stoppages. So some of the people board that bus, and a woman got up, and Valli found her very much repulsive. She disliked that woman, and she asked Valli that are you all alone? Like, she was an elderly woman, an experienced one, and she is asking Valli that have you come alone, child? So Valli becomes irritated again, like she was already fed up with the people. She said that yes, but she was feeling an utter dislike for that lady. Why utter dislike? Because her mouth, she was chewing that betel nut, and the betel juice was about to spill out of her mouth. So that's why, Valli is thinking that who would talk to such a disgraceful fellow. So that's why she answered curtly, like showing unhappiness, that she's not happy with people's interference in her life. So she answers in a she answers curtly that yes, she is traveling alone and she has got a ticket too. So conductor again objected the elderly woman that please don't ask her any questions, she is going to town, she has paid her fare, don't interfere. Oh, why don't you mind your own business? Said Valli. And she laughed all the same, and the conductor laughed too. See the natures. Valli gets irritated at the conductor too. That if the elderly woman is asking me questions, why are you interfering? Do your own work. People often say, mind your own business. It means have dealing with your own work only. Don't interfere. But she also laughed at the same time, and the conductor also laughed with her. The jolly nature of conductor is shown, that how generous he is. Valli is continuously insulting him in one way or the other, but he completely understands that this is not Valli's fault. She is just immature, an 8-year-old girl. She is very much immature and she cannot understand that it hurts. So he was taking everything very lightly, right? But the old woman went on with her drivel. Is it proper for such a young person to travel alone? Do you know exactly where you are going in town? What's the street? What's the house number? The elderly woman went on with her drivel. Drivel means silly nonsense questions. So she, ladies, especially typical ladies, like who don't stop interfering into your life. She again asked her that you are so young, like are you traveling alone? Do you know the place? Actually the woman was concerned, she was having a concern that the child may not get lost in the bus, and she asked that if she knows exactly where she wants to go, what is the street number, what is the house number she wants to go. Valli said that she should not bother about her, like she should not take tension about her. I can take care of myself. Turning her face towards the window and staring out. When we want to ignore people in some public place, we often turn our face outside the window, observing the scenery, so that we'll be able to ignore them. Right? So this happens till part 2. So I hope that the story is clear to you till now. So now we come to part 3 of the story. Her first journey, what careful, painstaking, elaborate plans she had to make for it. She had thriftily saved whatever stray coins came her way. Thriftily save, opposite of spendthrift. Thriftily means like spending very carefully, like whatever coins were given to her by her parents, so she used that very carefully so that she could collect money for her first visit. So painstaking it was, and she made elaborate plans, detailed plans for traveling. So resisting every temptation to buy peppermints, toys, balloons and finally she had saved a total of 60 paisa. How difficult it had been, particularly that day at the village fair, but she had resolutely stifled a strong desire to ride the merry-go-round even though she had the money. Children, it is described when something becomes a passion, when something becomes a strong desire, that the child, she begins to save money. Otherwise it's very difficult for a child to know what saving means, how saving can be done. So they are often tempted by the things that are being sold outside by the hawkers in the streets. So she resisted, means she stopped herself from all the temptations of buying peppermints, toys, balloons, like whatsoever came in the street. So she resisted herself. She stopped herself to buy, so that, why she was saving? So that she could get a ride on the bus. Like it was very difficult for her, particularly the day at the village fair. At the fair everybody gets tempted, we should buy this also, we should buy that also, but she had taken a resolution. It means strong determination that she will not spend even a penny. So that's why she had resolutely stifled a strong desire to ride the merry-go-round even though she had the money. It means it was her utmost desire to take a round. Often the swings are there, the merry-go-rounds are there, different types of adventure toys are there. So she avoided all those things even though she was having money, but she wanted to save for the next ride in the bus, right? So after she had enough money saved, her next problem was how to slip out of the house without her mother's knowledge. But she managed this without too much difficulty. Every day after lunch, her mother would nap from about 1 to 4 or so. Valli always used 3 hours for her excursions, and she stood looking from the doorway of her house, or sometimes even ventured into the village. Today, these same hours could be used for her first excursion outside the village. She decided that she would take the advantage of the 3 hours from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. when her mother takes nap. When her mother, people often sleep afternoon time. So that's why she thought of taking the advantage of that time. Like, she was looking at the doorway and she was planning that afternoon. So what happened that? The bus rolled on, now cutting across a bare landscape, now rushing through a tiny hamlet or past an wayside shop. So sometimes the bus seemed on the point of gobbling up some other vehicle, overlapping on some other vehicle that was coming towards them, or a pedestrian crossing the road. But lo, somehow it passed on smoothly, leaving all obstacles safely behind. Trees came running towards them, but then stopped as the trees reached them, and simply stood there helpless for a moment by the side of the road before rushing away in the other direction. You know what Valli notices here? What we notice while sitting in a bus? We feel that all the trees on the left and right side of the road, they are coming to us. They are approaching us. We often feel that. Secondly, what we see, that as soon as the bus reaches those trees, the trees stop on their place. So the same thing she was noticing. Like, it was very attractive for her, but she was also feeling afraid. We often feel that the bus goes at the full speed, and whosoever pedestrian, animal, any kind of thing, or even any kind of creature, a pedestrian, a person on a bicycle, two-wheeler, right, three-wheeler, so they often come the way across, and we feel the bus would overlap, or like there might be an accident. But the drivers know how to drive it safely, so all the obstacles, all the problems were safely left behind, like there was no accident. And trees came running towards them. Like, she was noticing that how drivers avoid all kinds of accidents, like how they manage to drive so safely, and how bus runs in one direction to the other, right? Next paragraph. Suddenly, Valli clapped her hands with glee. It means she becomes happy and starts clapping her hand. Why? A young cow, tail high in the air, was running very fast, right in the middle of the road, right in front of the bus. The bus slowed to a crawl, and the driver sounded his horn loudly again and again. But the more he honked, the more frightened the animal became, and the faster it galloped. Galloped means take up speed. Always right in front of the bus. See the scene? The bus is taking, dangerous turns, and a young cow is just in front of the bus, and the cow gets confused which way to go. And the driver was trying his level best to save the life of that cow, and this caught Valli's attention. She saw that the bus slowed to a crawl, and driver was giving horn loudly again and again, but the more loud the driver became, and the animal gets more frightened. Animals often, they how do the animals understand what human beings are trying to make them understand? And the cow began to run at greater speed. So there she was right in front of the bus. See, somehow this was very funny to Valli. She laughed and laughed, and until there were tears in her eyes. Like, she laughed so heartily that tears began to come out of her eyes. So, "Hey lady, haven't you laughed enough?" called the conductor. "Better save some for tomorrow." "Hey lady, haven't you laughed?" The conductor said that you have laughed enough for today. So, we often say that save some for tomorrow, save some energy for tomorrow. So at last, the cow moved off the road, and soon the bus came to a railroad crossing. A speck of a train could be seen in the distance, growing bigger and bigger as it drew near. So then it rushed past the crossing gate with a tremendous roar and rattle, shaking the bus. The bus went on and passed the train station. From there, it traversed a busy, well laid out shopping street and turning entered a wider thoroughfare. Such big, bright looking shops, what glittering display of clothes and other merchandise, such big crowds. So, children, in this paragraph, the writer describes that soon the bus, moved off the road, and the scene was really spectacular. It rushed past the crossing gate with a tremendous, means loud roar and rattle, and it shook the bus, right? So the bus went to the past station. It went into a busy area where there was a shopping street, and obviously there would, if that's a shopping street, there would be rush on that, and the bus would be moving at a low speed in that street. But Valli was amazed to see such display of clothes, merchandise, products. Like she was so delighted to see, like so much of the crowds. Like she was really really happy. She felt overwhelmed on seeing all these things. Struck dumb with wonder, Valli gaped at everything. Then the bus stopped and everyone got off except Valli. Hey lady, said the conductor, aren't you ready to get off? This is as far as your 30 paisa takes you. No, Valli said. I'm going back on the same bus. She took another 30 paisa from her pocket and handed the coins to the conductor. Why? Is something the matter? No, nothing's the matter. I just felt like having a bus ride, that's all. Don't you want to have a look at the sights now that you are here? All by myself. Oh, I would be much afraid. I would be much too afraid. Greatly amused by the girl's way of speaking, the conductor said, but you were not afraid to come in the bus. Nothing to be afraid about that, she answered. Well then, why not to go to that stall over there and have something to drink? Nothing to be afraid of about that either. Oh no, I couldn't do that. Well then, let me bring you a cold drink. So see, so here the conductor is asking Valli to get out of the bus since the bus would not go any farther from that place. It is the final stoppage. But Valli was not ready to get out of the bus, and when asked the reason by conductor, she said that she would pay another 30 paisa and she wants to return to her own place. But conductor offered her that there are many things to eat in a city. Like you could buy a plenty of things, and there's a stall over there, and some drink, some beverage can be obtained, can be purchased from that. So, but Valli is not ready. She feels that she is afraid of going out of that bus, and conductor here asked Valli that she was not afraid to ride this bus from village to the city. Now why she is afraid to get down of the bus and enter the streets of the city? If she was brave enough to enter the bus alone at the age of 8 years, like why can't she take up courage to go to that street and buy something to eat? But here Valli says that like she doesn't want to do that. Conductor also offers her that he can bring her a drink. He motivated her that there is nothing to be afraid of, and like she could have a drink here, she could have a beverage here for relaxation. But I don't have money, just give me ticket, that's all. So here Valli says that she doesn't have that much money. She doesn't have much money to buy other things, right? So that's why she here says that she doesn't want to buy anything, rather she wants to go home only, and these are the 30 paisa with her, and she asks for ticket from the conductor, that's all. It will be my treat and cost you nothing. So she asked the conductor that if you really want to give me treat, give me my ticket, that's it. No, she said firmly, please no. So the conductor shrugged and they waited until it was the time for the bus to begin the return journey. Again, there were not many passengers. It means, as afternoon time was there. There were not many passengers, and The conductor asked her again, but Valli was not ready to accept, right? So she didn't want conductor to spend anything on her. So firmly she said no, and the conductor shrugged, means he stopped the moment she repeatedly said no, no, and they waited the time until the bus was again filled with people. So there were a few passengers only who were there at this point of time of the day, right? Next, fourth part. Won't your mother be looking for you? The conductor asked when he gave the girl her ticket. No, no, no one will be looking for me, she said. The bus started and again there were the same wonderful sights. Valli wasn't bored in the slightest and greeted everything with the same excitement. She had felt the same for the first time, but suddenly she saw a young cow lying dead by the roadside. Just there it had been struck by some fast moving vehicle. Isn't it the same cow that ran in front of bus on our trip to town? She asked conductor. Conductor nodded, means he said yes, and she was overcome with sadness. See children, a great transition, a great change of mood from a happy and delighted one to a sad and distressed mind. They were going back to her village, and like she was enjoying each and everything. What generally happens with the children, if they have seen one thing, if they have played with one toy, and if second time they are offered the same, they get bored. Like while going to some place they are excited, while coming back they feel tired and they don't show any excitement. But Valli here, it is shown that she is full of excitement on her back journey as well. Like she is greeting everything with excitement and happiness. So suddenly what she notices, that the young cow that was there coming in front of the bus, on front of their bus again and again, that was lying dead by the roadside. And she asked the conductor, is that the same cow? So conductor said yes, and she became sad there. What had been a lovable, beautiful creature just a little while ago had now suddenly lost its charm and life and looked so horrible, so frightening as it lay there. Legs spreggled, a fixed stare in its lifeless eyes, blood all over. Cow is described as spread out. It means like her body had been torn, right? So it means it must have met with an accident. So Valli is lamenting that such a beautiful creature, such a lovable, innocent creature has been killed for no reason. So it was full of life just a few minutes ago, just about half an hour ago, and it has no life now. Its body parts are spread eagled. It means spread out, right? And there was a fixed stare in its lifeless eyes. Fixed stare means cow's eyes were open, but she was not able to see since there was no life, and blood was spread all over. So that was a very sad scene for Valli to see. But the conductor was not much moved, as it was their daily routine to see such kind of accidents and all. The bus moved on. The memory of the dead cow haunted her, dampening her enthusiasm. She no longer wanted to look out of the window because she was so depressed. The bus of course moved on, but she was continuously remembering that dead cow. The sight of the dead cow kept haunting. It kept visiting her mind again and again. She was continuously thinking of the dead cow. So it was dampening her enthusiasm. So it means her zeal, her enthusiasm, her excitement was going down. So she no longer wanted to look out of the window because she was afraid that she might not see any such kind of scene again in this journey. Next line. She sat thus glued to her seat. Glued means stick to her seat. She sat down until the bus reached her village at 3:40. So she stood up and stretched herself, but she returned to the conductor and said, well sir, I hope to see you again. Now she is bidding goodbye, and it was 3:40 and she has came back, right? So that's why she asked the conductor a goodbye, and she hoped to see him again. Okay madam, he answered smiling. Whenever you feel like a bus ride, come and join us, and don't forget to bring your fare. In a smiling, in a jolly manner, the conductor asked Valli that whenever she feels that she wants to get a bus ride, she should join them, and she should bring bus fare also, right? So she laughed and jumped down from the bus. Then away she went running straight for home. Of course, she was to go home from then. So then she entered her house and she found her mother awake and talking to one of Valli's aunts. And the one from South Street, this aunt was a real chatterbox, never closing her mouth once she started talking. So it is said that Valli, when she reached home, she was, like she noticed that one of her aunts, anybody in the family is addressed as aunt, any female. So one of her aunts was there with her mother, and this was a real chatterbox according to Valli. Like she talks a lot and she never closes her mouth. And the aunt asked Valli, "Where have you been?" She spoke very casually, not expecting her reply. Valli just smiled. Children sometimes they feel irritated at the interference of others. So Valli didn't give any reply, and her mother and aunt went on with their conversation. So yes, you are right, her mother said. So many things in our midst and in the world outside. So how can we possibly know about everything? And even when we do know about something, we often can't understand it completely, can we? So now her mother said that, well, you are right. So we see a lot many things in our life and in the world outside. So it's not possible for us to get the knowledge of each and everything. And even when we do know about something, we can't understand it completely, because human beings too are as human. Nobody is perfect. Nobody can obtain full knowledge of anything. So, oh yes, breathed Valli. Right? She said yes. What? Asked the mother. What's that you say? Valli said, oh, it was just agreeing with what you said about things happening without our knowledge. So it means Valli here wanted to say that she went to the town and she came back, and it was all without the knowledge of her mother, because her mother was teaching her that everything, whatever happens in the world, everything is not in our knowledge. So that's why Valli here is pointing at the incident that has just happened. It means her visit to the town, it was not known to her mother. Her mother didn't notice that when Valli left the house and when she entered, like she was there, but she didn't notice that she had taken a round of the town, right? So just a chit of a girl she is, aunt said. Aunt feels that she is very clever, and yet looks how she pokes her nose into her conversation, just as though she was a grown lady. She feels that she is poking her nose. Poking her nose means doing interference into somebody's conversation. If two people are talking, third is trying to interfere and ask the things further, queries further, that is known as poking nose, right? Valli smiled to herself. She didn't want them to understand her smile, but then there wasn't much chance of that, was there? So that is, Valli feels that there is no need to explain to these ladies like why she went out, where she went, and what was the purpose, but she just smiled, feeling that the purpose should not be revealed to them, because it is just their business to talk and talk and talk about others, nothing else. So that was all about the story. I hope you must have liked it and you must have got some insight into the life and thinking of children, especially the age group of 8 to 10 years, how their curiosity level rises, how it begins, and how sad they become if they see some creatures, if they see some dead creature. So do the back exercise questions and leave your queries in the comment section. I'll be happy to take that. Okay, have a nice day. Thank you.